Hey everyone. So design is one of those things that I like to outsource to the pros. I know my way around Photoshop, but an experienced designer is usually able to give me something better than I could come up with myself. Not to mention saving me a bunch of time in the process. Hiring a freelancer is especially useful because I can just have the expert work on one project rather than having them on payroll. Now, Upwork is probably the gold standard these days for hiring freelancers, but it's not the only option. Redbubble is another platform that allows you to buy pre-made artwork for print media, so it's definitely a viable alternative. Today, I'm going to be comparing Upwork and Redbubble to figure out which option's the best. Let's start by comparing their pricing. The most important thing that I look for in terms of pricing is flexibility. I get that artists need to make a buck and I'm all for that, but I also have a budget in mind and I need someone who won't ask me to stretch it way too much. As far as that's concerned, both Upwork and Redbubble are pretty solid. You can find freelancers to suit pretty much every budget. On Upwork, for example, I needed someone with an affordable rate, but I didn't want to compromise on quality, so the super cheap crowd was automatically disqualified for me. I was able to find a freelancer that had reasonable rates that showed they took the work seriously without even breaking a sweat. Redbubble also offers a lot of diversity with pricing. Although I did end up spending more money there, that's mostly because it's organized like an online marketplace. While I was browsing for a good design, I stumbled across tons of t-shirts, mugs, and all sorts of other items that looked absolutely gorgeous. So I couldn't help but splurge on them just a little bit. But even if I ignore my extra purchases, Redbubble seems to be more expensive on average, and it's not exactly because the work's better either. Instead, you're paying for material costs as well as the design itself, which isn't ideal because I could have easily saved some money by handling all the printing myself. All I wanted was a design, but Redbubble's business model doesn't seem to work like that. However, there's one major factor separating the two platforms and their pricing. Basically, if you spend money on Upwork, you're not just paying the freelancer for their work, you're also paying the platform. There's a 5% service charge on all transactions, and on top of that, you'll need to pay a $4.95 fee when starting new contracts. There are no such charges on Redbubble, because they earn their revenue by charging artists to access their platform. This means that you only pay the amount required for the art itself, which can make things pretty convenient if you ask me. Another thing I didn't like too much about Upwork was the fact that you have to pay for things in advance. Okay, technically the payments are held in escrow until you're satisfied with the work, but the money exits your account the moment you hire someone. On Redbubble, you pay for what you want and the design's pretty much ready to go from the get-go. The only thing you have to wait for is the delivery, which is a separate matter that I'll get into in a bit. Overall, I'm thinking that Redbubble gets a 5 out of 5 here. Sure, some things are more expensive, but at least there aren't any surprise costs sneaking up on you. I have to dock a point for Upwork here, which brings its score to 4 out of 5. With that said, let's move to another important area, the quality of work. There are a few things to consider here, like variety, for example. I'd say that's an important indicator of quality. If a platform only offers one type of design, I'm less likely to use it because my needs can change at any given moment. Just because a design style worked for one project doesn't mean it'll work for everything. Redbubble is a great place to buy designs from in that respect. Tens of thousands of independent artists put their work up there, and you can buy it in a bunch of different formats. But there's a huge problem with their business model that makes it a bit hit or miss from a client's point of view. Like if you want to buy someone a unique gift or something, Redbubble is definitely the place to go. But what if you need a new logo for your brand? Or maybe you need some flyers to promote an event? Redbubble doesn't really offer anything like that. Don't get me wrong, the work itself is absolutely fantastic. All those indie artists are pouring their hearts and souls into the designs, and it shows. That's why I went on a bit of a shopping spree over there in the first place. But I still didn't quite find what I was looking for, if you know what I mean. I couldn't find a unique design that I could use in a commercial capacity, which is a huge disadvantage if you compare it to Upwork. To be fair, Upwork doesn't have as many designers as Redbubble, because it's more of a versatile platform where you can get everything from legal expertise to web development services. Design is just one of the many services that falls under its umbrella, so it obviously wouldn't offer the same number of dedicated design professionals as Redbubble would. But here's the thing, it does have an enormous variety of designers, more than enough to satisfy your needs as a client. You have people from various skill levels, and the majority of them have college degrees in their niche. Redbubble can't really boast that, or at least there's no way to tell if you're buying from someone with a master's in fine arts or someone that just paints in their free time. There are some advantages to Redbubble too, of course. Just for starters, you don't really have to wait for the designer to come up with something. Like I've said before, the only thing you have to wait for is the delivery. But that might actually be part of the problem. After all, this means you have zero customization options for the designs. You only have pre-designed items available. And besides, if you want something like that, Upwork's got you covered as well. Freelancers on the platform often have catalogs with designs and other types of content ready for purchase. That's why Upwork gets a 5 out of 5 here and Redbubble gets a 3 out of 5. Their scores are now 9 and 8 respectively. There's still one thing left for us to consider though, the user experience. A big part of the refund policy. Upwork's got dedicated arbitration teams ready to step in if the work isn't up to snuff. Like let's say you've paid a freelancer for a certain milestone and they suddenly bailed on you. You might be fresh out of luck on some platforms, but on Upwork, you'll be able to get your money back and canceled the contract in no time. Trust me, I'm saying this from personal experience. Upwork always takes the client's side, unless they're clearly in the wrong, of course. My point is, you never have to worry about getting scammed on Upwork, which is a huge mark in its favor if you ask me. But that's not to say that Redbubble has anything against clients, of course. It's just that there's only so much support you can get from an online marketplace like this. Like, you can get a refund if the product is low quality, or you can lodge a complaint if the delivery is late, but that's pretty much it. You don't get the same level of security that you do with Upwork. Now, the user interface is a different matter. Upwork and Redbubble each have their own distinct approaches to creating an interface that helps you get from point A to point B, or to help you find the type of service or product you're looking for. In my personal opinion, Upwork's a bit better because you can post jobs that freelancers can apply for instead of just browsing for what you need. In my opinion, I'm feeling another solid 5 out of 5 for Upwork and a 4 out of 5 for Redbubble, which means that Upwork is my pick for the #1 platform. You just get so much more variety there, not to mention complete control over the type of work you receive. Factor in the slight superior user experience and you've got a recipe for success. A final score of 14 out of 15 definitely proves it, although it's fair to say that Redbubble put up a good fight with its 12 out of 15 final score. Despite that, however, Upwork's top tier talent won in the end, and the fact that you can hire a variety of other freelancers didn't hurt either, because it's always nice to have a place to hire some extra help. Also, if you haven't signed up for Upwork yet, you can use the link down below to get $50 applied to your account when you make your first hire. So what do you think? Will you give Redbubble or Upwork a try? Let me know what your experience is if you do, but that's all I have for now. So I'll see you guys in the next one.